people get too wrapped up in scripts, right? I do teach like a format, but mostly what I'm teaching is tonality and conveying that message. And then through that, conversion takes place, a strong bond is built.
If you want to know how to start a successful real estate team, this video is truly going to blow your mind and give you the complete roadmap. Real estate teams are the future of this industry, but so many people struggle to properly start and then scale a real estate team. They deal with retention issues. Their top agents leave them. They struggle with training, systems, and culture, and all of these back-end issues. And today we're going to alleviate all of that. I bring on a partner of mine, Brad Kothlow, who's created a massively successful and profitable team, and one where he's actually never lost an agent to any other brokerage or real estate team. So today, Brad's going to be breaking down all of his systems, his exact blueprint of how he started his team, then scaled it, and allowed people to become top producers within his team, but staying with his team and not leaving to go do their own thing. It is absolutely insane, and I'm almost never seen anything like it. So if you want to scale and create massive leverage as a real estate agent, this video is gonna change your future forever. Now, I want to mention two quick things before we get started. Number one, I'm going to link all of Brad's incredible content below. He's actually starting a new channel, and he's gonna be breaking down all of the different things that he's done in more detail granularly. So you want to make sure to follow him on his channel there. And then secondly, I'm going to be linking his calendar link below if you would like to book a one-on-one call to talk to him about what it can be like to get his personal support with helping you create, launch, and scale your own highly profitable real estate team. So without further ado, let's show you the proven blueprint for creating a massively successful real estate team right now. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another exciting video where today we've got on a topic of conversation that everybody's interested, which is all about teams. As you know, most people know, teams are the way of the future within the real estate industry, and there's a multitude of ways to run them, and there's nobody better to talk about that than Brad Kothlow. And really excited to dive into how you've just got massive retention, incredible growth, production, and everything that you've been able to do to systemize your team and build such a weapon of an organization. So Brad, super excited to have you here, man. What's going on?
Hey, Mike, I couldn't be happier to be here on here to talk about everything kind of in my past, my experience, how I've learned to build teams and replicate success amongst all the agents on my team. And you know, what better than to share it here with your audience?
Definitely, man. It's going to be exciting. And I think that's going to be a great way to set the tone. Why don't you talk about, a bit about your story? What kind of got you into the industry? What kind of led you to starting a team? And then we can start diving into the tactical aspect of how you've built such a successful team.
For sure. My story's kind of long, and I'll try to give you the Coles Notes version so we don't get too drawn out in it. But I've been in real estate since actually 2007. The Real City Group, though, wasn't formed until 2017, when I'd actually made a return. I'd previously left to pursue a tech company that I had started, which actually became a large digital marketing agency across North America. And what was actually happening is that I had a lot of realtor and big real estate groups as clients. My top team, I helped do 2.2 million in GCI in 1 year. And I started kind of looking at the service fees that I was earning, and, having previously had my real estate license, it was still kind of shelved and usable. I decided, like, hey, this is crazy. I need to go back and start building something of my own, right? And so I did that, and I came back, and I haven't looked back, right? And so today, Real City Group is a team of 11 real estate agents, and we are continually growing and adding members to our team. The foundation of what our team is built on is really like a high level of education and training, which I provide personally, incredible systems, so that like everything in our business is like a well-oiled machine. Like, it's almost everything could be technically a checklist, which it really is. And like getting from A to Z, we have everything covered. And then really, honestly, one of the biggest cornerstones is leads, right? The toughest challenge that, as you know, and even everything that you teach, you're teaching the laws of attraction. You're doing it through content, right? What my background has taught me, because with my marketing agency, is I used to manage ad budgets north of $1 million a month, right? So with that kind of budget, I was able to test a lot of different things with other people's money that ultimately I was able to use and take in and apply to my real estate business. So I've kind of got leads on autopilot to a certain extent for my team. I get, cost per, like some of the lowest cost per leads in the industry. And I would challenge anybody on that. But beyond that, with the sales training that I provide my agents, we know how to take that lead and actually convert it into somebody who will do business with you, right? So I love being a team leader because of what I'm able to give back to the other agents, how I align what our team is doing with what their long-term personal professional goals are, and helping them ultimately achieve them.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And we definitely got to talk about, some of the lead strategies, because I know that, leads are a dime a dozen, but converting them into booked appointments and closed deals is a completely different ball game. And that's where a lot of people drop the ball. So I love that you've been able to get that dialed in. So, teams are obviously, a lot of people are talking about that's the way of the future. And, you kind of alluded to why you started the team. How did you go about starting your real estate team in terms of saying, okay, I'm at that position, I'm ready to go, systems, recruiting agents, like what was kind of the foundation of saying, okay, I'm going to make this move, but where do I start and how do I actually get the ball rolling?
And that's really the biggest challenge, right? I think, as you know, and we'll get into this after, is that I come from Keller Williams. Keller Williams is very much about building the big mega agent team, right? They do a really good job of explaining the why to do it, some of like what it should look like, but they don't give you like, here's step one, here's step two, right? And it's a challenge for a lot. And it's funny because I ended up becoming a resource within our brokerage when I was at Keller Williams. People would come to me and they asked me the same question you just did: is like, where do I do? What do I like? How do I start this? Right. And the thing is, though, is people have to step back, take a look at their business, and understand that, if you got hit by a truck today, what could somebody pick up your business and carry on? And the answer for 99.9% of people is they don't, because they haven't documented it. They haven't actually mapped what their systems and processes are. They don't have a checklist, right? And the one big kind of thing, and like people do talk about this out there, is it all starts with an admin, a business manager, somebody who can kind of like take off the heavy lifting of the back end things that are preventing you from focusing on income producing activity, right? That's the first cornerstone. If you don't have an admin, you can't grow a team, right? Because you're already tapped for time. Where are you going to find the extra time needed to train your agents, to support your agents, taking that 10 o'clock call when somebody's like, this is happening in this deal, I need your help. How do you do that all while managing your business and everything else, right? It's not possible, right? And that's why people hit these ceilings in their businesses and they can't figure out, how do I stop working so much, right? And this is where people burn out in our industry, right? Or they just get comfortable and be like, what, I just have to coast at this point. So definitely you got to start at the min, and then you have to figure out, okay, what is attractive about joining your team, right? I think people get enamored with the idea of having a real estate team. But I do it because they see the opportunity for additional revenue, right? They're not thinking of it like really the way that I do, is like, how do I replicate my success? How do I help other people be successful? And that's really what leads to, and we'll touch on this, is my retention. I've never lost an agent to real estate, right? I've never had somebody go solo from my team or go to join another team. I've only lost agents who ultimately decided real estate wasn't for them, right? And so that's a testament to the things and the pillars that I've built behind my team and how we're structured. And so I would definitely say that, if you want to build a team, you got to figure out what it is you're going to offer them, right? What can you give them that nobody else can, right? And sometimes it's a mix of what can you offer a new agent? Okay, what are the problems they're experiencing in their business? Well, the number one thing is they need people to talk to. Can you give them people to talk to, right? Can you give them the training, like how to convert that lead? Can you give them the training on how to show a property, write a contract, right? The brokerages do have resources available to you in this, but a lot of the times when the brokerages build out that kind of training curriculum, it's not really from the point of view of an agent. And a lot of times if it comes from like say international level down, well, international, where depending on where they're based, we're in Canada, of course. If it's in the US, it looks very different, right? And so understanding how that actual process works, it won't be directly transferable, right? And so having systems, processes, training, leads, that's the cornerstone of building a team today.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, one of the questions, or I guess two of the questions that I have when it comes to the admin, because I know that's such an important aspect of it, is where do you recommend, or where did you find your admin, and what are some of the kind of pillar tasks that they're taking care of in order to lighten that load?
So I don't want this to sound kind of kind of pitchy, but like I've got like a full kind of automated hiring process. You can obviously go to the job boards, but the big thing for me is that you need to create resistance in the application process. You need to help filter out people who could ultimately waste your time and not align with what you're trying to do with your team, right? And so we just talked about how this agent who's maxed out on their time, they have no time left in their business. And this is where actually, it is a giant leap to hire the admin because they don't have the time to hire them, right?
Yeah.
And so I go through a process, we'll look at different job boards. We will reach out to different people, past clients. We will go to other agents. There are people who ultimately find themselves in real estate and realize, I'd just be a really great admin. I just happen to be licensed, right? But in the interviewing process, we do things like personality assessments. I will ask that they film a video upon their resume submission. And in some cases, we'll ask them to do a few different tests just to see if they can do ultimately a job, right? The tough thing here is like we have a lot of people that want to work, right? The moment you post a job listing, you've got 200 applications, right? And it's hard to filter all that, right? And so there's really easy ways to create that resistance that takes that and bottlenecks it right down before you get into the first interview, right? And then when you get into that interview, ultimately it's there where you want to make sure that you can align with the person and there's somebody that, some of the big key things that I'm looking for is people who have loyalty. They have a track record of loyalty. They're not somebody who jumps around from job to job every 3 months, because you're going to invest a ton of money and resources into developing this person. You want to make sure that they're with you for the long haul.
100%. No, that makes complete sense. And I think the culture is such an important aspect of it. And, I love that you talked about time and being able to, ask some of these qualifying questions to yourself, because I talk to solo agents all the time that are saying they want to start, teams, but they're not even successful as a solo agent. Like they don't even have enough business for themselves. How are they going to feed other people? And I think, as you kind of touched on earlier, so many team or like aspired team leaders really look at this and say, well, I'm not where I want to be. Maybe if I just have other people and I get a cut from them, then I'll make the income that I'm looking for. And we all know that that is basically the first step toward absolute failure. So, when, after we kind of build that foundation, the next couple of things I'd love to talk about is systems and then team and kind of the retention that goes around that. So you've got an incredible team. They're great culturally fit. They're very productive. And it's, I've been on calls with you guys and it's like a family. So I think a lot of people struggle to find the right agents, and they kind of just take everybody with a heartbeat and they start running into all kinds of issues. What was kind of your process of actually getting the right people? Was it posting somewhere, reaching out, running ads, or what drew people to you? And how did you kind of audit that to make sure that they were the right fit?
Yeah, well, there's actually a couple components to it, right? One of the big things is I've always been big on education, and I do a lot of training. Previously with my digital marketing company, I used to tour brokerages and actually train. I teach them about stuff like you teach, like social media, marketing, running ads. I would teach them the difference between, marketing on Google to marketing on social media, things like that. And so I did build a little bit of a reputation around that, as well as my work within the brokerage. And I taught everything from, contract marketing to, all sorts of different things kind of along that whole kind of buyer's journey and customer life cycle. But part of what it is that I have obviously at this point in my career reached a point where people know what they get. They see the retention. They see that you've got so I hate the word buyer's agents because they're not buyer's agents. I give my team kind of the ability to do everything. They can sell, they can buy. Plus I don't, we're called Real City Group. It's not Brad Kothlow and Associates. So I'm trying to help them build their name within the business. So part of it is selflessness, and people see that with me. It's that they see that they can align and I will help them achieve their goals versus just trying to use them to achieve mine, right? So there's a couple different ways, right? So that's one way is that educational approach. But when I do take that coffee with people, uh, it's sincerity, right? It's kind of like one person I really like is Ricky Caruth, and when he talks about how he makes his cold calling and talks and stuff, he talks about coming at everything with sincerity. I live my life that way, right? Like when I say something, I mean it. Like, and I am empathetic, I am sympathetic, I like understand what everybody's going through because I was them, right? When I started in real estate back in 2007, I joined a team as a buyer's agent. I was on what was the a top 3 team in the province, high producing, 150 plus ends a year. And, I was in their shoes, right? I knew what it was like to be there. And, when you enter real estate, and you see this all the time because a good chunk of the people that are following you is because they're trying to figure out what is step one? How do I find that first client? Right. And it's a very insecure and a very lonely feeling, right? And we ultimately give them a home. They're not the only ones that are feeling like that, but we do let them know that we've got a plan for them, how they're not going to feel that anymore. And it's about conveying that message.
I love that. No, I think that's super powerful, and I, that obviously translate into your retention. I'd love to talk about that because usually what you see with a lot of people is agents will leave a team and they're maybe not succeeding and they'll go to a different team, or they'll go to a different brokerage, or they become successful and then they go solo. And you haven't had that. Like, you've been able to be this guiding light for people, help people build that momentum, but it's almost like you've created that ascension for people to the point where there's never a need for them to go elsewhere because of the value that you continue to provide. So, based on the market shift right now, retention is the name of the game. And I think that's what we're seeing across the board is that, with 60,000 plus agents leaving the industry this year, growth is going to be easy because if you have that value proposition, if you could prove the value and you're sincere about it and you actually follow through, growing is not that difficult, but retaining is the key. So how did you go about kind of building this ecosystem of people that are excited, passionate, and pumped to just stay with the team and continue to grow and build momentum?
It all comes to that first meeting or subsequent meetings of where you're looking at joining the team, right? I really dig deep, right? Like I ask them kind of what their goals are, and then I try to understand why those are their goals and what it means to them if they don't reach those goals, right? And it's one thing to ask those when you're first kind of meeting something, you're trying to hit that fit, but it's actually circling back to those and checking in and making sure, where are we at on that pathway to reaching that goal, right? And constantly finding ways. And like the number one thing that you always know about me is I am innovative. If there's something new that's kind of like it's the next thing, I'm an early adopter. Like I'm on it, I'm finding it. And so one of the things that happens when people have been on teams for really long times is I would say the senior partners, like the leadership or the team leader gets complacent, right? They feel like they've got a system that works and it doesn't need to change, right? And a lot of the systems, especially if some of these team leaders, they come from, they've been in the business for 20, 30 years. Well, the systems have changed a lot, right? The opportunity, when I look at back in 2007, when I first joined, I was on the team that I was on, we used to spend about 35,000 a month on print and outdoor media. We were on every bus to like shopping carts to every kind of magazine because the internet hadn't taken. And even back then, I was telling them, hey guys, the internet, it's the future. This is where we're at, right? Look at social media, the adoption of it, right? And trying to help them kind of plan and map for the future, right? And it's funny because even to this day, I look back at that team, great respect. I learned so much from them that I still use in my business today that I train other people with, but they haven't even to this day really evolved, right? I can see that they're starting to get a little bit, but I still see them on every bus, every kind of like thing. And it's not to say that those things don't work, but how do you measure them? Right? Like you can't measure like how many people are viewing that bus truly, how many people are going to your website, how many people are contacting you. The qualification process to figure that out is very hard to do, as you know, right? This is kind of part of what you teach, right? Tying that all back though is that with that innovation is that my team aren't going to look at the team that's down the hall and say, man, like they're really like innovating. There's something, because like it's hard for agents when they hit resistance in their business where they haven't gotten to that deal and a half to 2 deals a month. They're looking around to oh, that person just did 2 deals. They don't know that that was their uncle and their sister,
Yeah.
and they're just looking, oh, what does that team have, right? My team never has to worry about that because I am innovating, right? That's a big part of it. The second thing is that I don't stop with the mindset of you're always going to be, what I call in my business is a junior partner. I've got a senior partner, right? And what I've done is this is an agent who's been in the business for 10 years, high producing agent. And I make sure that even them, because they hit their ceiling too with how much they can produce. So how else can they continue to add revenue? So what I've done is now I've built a team within the team underneath them. And every agent on my team has the opportunity to ascend like that, right? And so it's creating opportunity for them to continue to earn and reach new milestones and resetting those goals we set several years ago and continuing offering them opportunity.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And it really, aligns with one of the things that one of my mentors, Andy Frisella, always talks about, which is that you need to create a goal and a vision big enough that everybody else's dreams can fit within that. So it's like, if you've got a big dream as a team leader, but the people that are ascending and crushing it, becoming rock stars, can't fit with, they outgrow your vision, they outgrow, like, they're going to leave, right? And 100%. Rightfully so. And I think that it's cool that you've given that opportunity. And I think that's, one of the cool things, and we'll get to this about, this brokerage, is that everybody has a fair and equal opportunity to achieve the same success. And that's something that gives people pride and confidence that all the effort they're putting into it is not just going to benefit somebody that is, the partner above them or the leader above them, but they have the same opportunity. So, I think before diving into some of the best practices, I really love the idea of systems, and systems scale, simplicity scales. Yeah. A lot of people struggle and I even was this way in the beginning, where I see a lot of team leaders, and me myself, even as a solo agent, was basically hanging on by a thread, crushing deals. But if something went sideways, it was all coming down like a house of cards. So, what are some of the most important systems that you find are in need in order to properly run a team, whether it be lead systems or, admin? Like, what does that look like from a general perspective of saying, if you're going to start a team, here's some of the pillar systems that you should consider to dial in order to make sure you've got that well-oiled machine?
So one of the biggest concerns people have when they actually grow a team is, will the customer, the client, get the same level of experience with another agent on the team that they would get with you, right? So that team leader has to step back and say, okay, well, what is that experience, right? Like, what is it like when you go show a property with me, right? What is it like in our communication? Like, are we texting, emailing? Like, how are we communicating? What does that communication look like, right? And that was kind of, for me in my business, is that, because I want to give that absolute first class, and everybody says that, and first class looks different from everybody, but I feel pretty good about the service that I provide. And I ultimately took a step back when I built my team, and I documented to the level that every single thing in the business that we have it really is a checklist. Even some of the emails and stuff that go out through the transaction process, as an example, right? So what happens when you get an offer, right? Who do you have to engage? Who are the other stakeholders, right? Okay, well, here's your steps. You've got to contact the mortgage specialist, right? You got to contact the inspector. You've got to connect your client with other different service people that they're going to potentially need in this process, right? What is the emails that have to go out with that, right? Well, here's the email to each one of those stakeholders, right? And so literally every single thing, to even once you get all the way to the end of the transaction, is we've templated what does it look like to build loyal and what's it called, evangelical type clients who are going to talk and tell everybody about you, right? So we're big on client appreciation events. Okay, well, what does it take to run a client appreciation event? Here. Everything is a checklist down to the evites that go out to your clients, right? And so we've mapped every single thing in our business so that, and this is the tough thing, right? So even when you get that rock star admin, which I've had rockstar admins, the first one in Real City Group, I helped her start a side business that ended up becoming huge. And unfortunately, I lost her. But the person I hired next, another rock star, stepped in and picked up, and we didn't miss a beat because of the level of documentation and understanding what it takes to fill that role, right? So I was able to fill that, right? Emma Absolutely amazing. Well, Emma is, I'm super excited for her. She's about to welcome her second child into the world, and now we're in a position where she's going mat leave for a year, and now we got Mike, who we just hired. He's actually just going through the training process, and he's already crushing it, right? And it's all because of the systems and everything, and it's easy to take and just say, here, right?
Yeah.
Like take it and continue. And that's not to slight, not say that the people that are in that position aren't rock stars, because they are. We love them. They're part of our family, but your business needs to continue on, right? So even if I got hit by a truck tomorrow, knock on wood, the team would still roll on, right? Like the team is bigger than any individual within it, right? Now, flipping to that other side is the lead side of things, right? Our systems are very well oiled, right? We, beyond like obviously the ads we run, how we convert that ad online into a name, a phone number, and an email, the follow-up and the conversion of that lead for us is very systematic, right? One big thing, and like I'm interested to see kind of where it goes. I obviously watch it very closely. Everybody's looking for ways to automate that follow-up process. You can't automate human connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing still always will be is to pick up the phone and call the person and start building the relationship, and come from a place where you truly believe in your heart that you actually just want to help that person. And all your job to do is convey that, right? People get too wrapped up in scripts, right? I do teach like a format, but mostly what I'm teaching is tonality and conveying that message, right? And then through that, conversion takes place, a strong bond is built. And because like, when I first got into this industry, I don't know if I've really heard many people say it these days, but they always used to say buyers are liars, because people would lose their buyers all the time. When we convert like somebody into a client, we don't lose them, right? Because we build the bond and we let them know that they're special to us, and they're not just special to us today and for this transaction, but we're going to continue to love on them for the future, regardless if they do business with us. We don't do client appreciation events purely just to try to get more business. It's to let them know that we appreciate you, we're invested in you, and we're here for the long run. So those are kind of the big things for us.
And that's awesome. And just one quick question on lead generation, based on the landscape of the industry right now, where are you finding is, without going into exact strategy, which kind of platforms or avenues are you kind of leaning into right now?
Well, as you know, like we are about to really kind of take things to the next level. Content has always been top of mind for me, and that's where we're pushing. That's, if you were to look at like our plan for the next year, it's all built in and around content, because we want to work more on the laws of attraction, where people are kind of coming to us, right? And you teach that better than anyone, right? For us, because it's highly measurable, and I love measurable. I'm slightly of an analytical mind, where I like to know for every dollar in, I've got a dollar plus out. And so for us, everything we've done to date in the business that we built, and I'd say, we do it on a very high level in comparison to even other people who run systems similar to us. Chime obviously is like what we're using right now. We've tried kind of other kind of forced lead registration websites. We do only Google ads, because I always teach people on this side of thing. And it's not to say like, so the content is very much social media driven. It's YouTube, which is really a search engine, which is still similar to the Google one I'm about to talk about. But for us, like it's that measurability of, what's my ad spend and how many leads am I kind of getting out of it, right? So our systems very much are built on that as a cornerstone, right? So I know how many deals we can do each month based on our ad spend, right? And my biggest thing is if my guys aren't telling me that they're overwhelmed, I've got too many clients in my funnel, can you turn off the leads for me for a bit, right? Which happens quite often. But kind of circling that back and tying it all together is that I always teach Google over YouTube for ads, purely because you're capturing a need versus, asking if you have a need, right? Yeah. So it's because people are searching real estate in Vancouver because they have a need for real estate in Vancouver. Yeah. In social media context, when you're spending that ad, it's like, hey, hello, do you have a need for real estate? And they're just kind of like trying to cruise Facebook looking for their friends on, their new baby that they just had in the party where they were at with it, right? So, that's a whole other conversation for another day, because I can get pretty deep into that. But yeah, that's the cornerstone of how we do it.
That's awesome, man. No, I appreciate that transparency. And as we're starting to bring this full circle, I'd really love to know kind of, two contrasting things, which are what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see team leaders making, and what are some of your, or maybe your best piece of advice for somebody that's looking to start a team?
The biggest mistake, I think we kind of already touched on it, is investing in their outcome, not your own,
Yeah.
right? Is understanding what is their ultimate long-term goals. And everybody makes actually no, right? When you meet people in our industry, some people are after just income, right? Some people, they're after legacy, right? They want to be known as that kind of person, right? Like that go-to, they are the top in their industry. That's what they're after, right? As much as they sound like they're the same thing, yes, obviously making a lot of money, selling a lot of houses will lead to that, but it looks very different on how that is, right? Some people are looking for work-life balance, and that's one thing I preach really big. I make my guys take days off. I, let them know that, you do need to take vacations. You have a team here to support you. That's important too, right? I just think the biggest failure that people make is not aligning with each other's goals, right? So I think that would be the number one. The second question again?
Yeah, best piece of advice for somebody
Best
looking to
piece of
start a
advice?
team.
Like step back and, figure out what actual kind of business you want to build, right? The team, side of things, it's not for everyone, right? It's not like some people thrive on the interaction with the client to some degree. So I still take clients, I still sell houses, I still show property, right? But in a large part, I have taken somewhat of a step back on the heavy on the production side because I'm being the thought leader, I'm being, the education, I'm being the support, right? For some people, they get into that role and they realize, I really enjoyed the day-to-day. I enjoyed going looking at every house. I enjoyed the client interaction, and they lose a little bit of that as the team leader because your time shifts to other responsibilities. You're trying to leverage that so you can do that, times in my case, 10 other agents, right? So it's hard to do both. So the biggest thing is actually understand what it is you're looking for out of building a team, figure out what that is, and reverse engineer it.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I think, one of the things that I think has led to your massive success is a concept I've really been talking about right now based on the market shift is, being honest with yourself. And I think a lot of people that are team leaders, they'll have like an agent leave and be like, well, screw that agent. It's their problem. It's their loss. Well, fair in some cases, but also there's two sides to every story. What, are you looking internal and saying, well, they left because I could have been doing better. I didn't have the right systems. I didn't have enough leads. I, was doing this for the wrong reason. I think a lot of people are quick to play the blame game and say, well, you should be like honored to be on my team instead of saying, hey, I'm doing this to help you, right? I genuinely want to see you win and help you succeed.
100%. It's an opportunity for self-reflection, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because people love to grab on to catchy kind of words and phrases.
Yeah.
And people always say, oh, you got to fail to succeed. Okay, well, what does that mean? You have to fail. You failed there, and the agent left your team, right? Well, that failure that's going to lead to your future success is understanding, okay, well, why did they leave, right?
Yeah.
I like the number one thing for me is like I just want to make them feel supported enough that they can actually share what that would be if that were to come, right? You need to ask them, right? And so in the circumstances like where I have lost an agent, like one of the agents I lost recently, they actually had a degree in archaeology and they decided they wanted to go back and work. They've been working on the pipeline, right? For me, it's like when I had that kind of exit interview and I said, was there anything that where I failed you? And emphatically they said like, no, like I couldn't have been happier with what you had provided me. It's just, this was a calling that I couldn't ignore. Right. But erring on the side of caution and saying, is he just saying this to save my feelings? I asked him like different not pointed, but like detailed questions about different areas of the business. Were you satisfied here? Were you satisfied? Where are areas that I could learn from, to the point where I forced him to come up with something. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's actually a really good idea. I appreciate that, right? And then it's something I can, make sure it's not a hole in my, boat, and I can plug it, and so that I don't lose anybody else potentially in the future.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful, especially just even having the exit interviews, which so many people don't, and they're kind of like, okay, burn the bridge and on to the next one. Whereas you can learn so much from, those experiences. So, as we're coming full circle here, obviously, we're now partners in this adventure. And I think that's going to be a really exciting and very relatable conversation to have, because, you were at Keller Williams and KW, and made a transition over to our group at EXP. And now people have an opportunity to learn from you about how they can start, scale, and retain their team, which I think is massively valuable during the times that we're in right now. But maybe guide us through what kind of brought you to that decision of saying, okay, I was, crushing it at KW, but maybe I want to explore new options, and what led this to be the option of choice?
Complicated answer.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this obviously, and I'm excited to share it with you. Like, the number one thing is, I want to kind of preface this with, I've got really close relationships with the brokerage that I left, and it wasn't so much anything on the brokerage level, that it was more on the international level, right? I feel like Keller Williams has somewhat lost their identity. Anybody who's been at Keller Williams or around it are very well aware of some of the statements that have come from international, saying, first it was, we're not a real estate company, we're a training company. Then it became, we're not a real estate company, we're a tech company. Well, unfortunately, you don't do either of those things very well, right? I think Keller Williams did set the gold standard early on from a training perspective, but they've just failed to evolve, right? I think they recognize that there is emerging trends and stuff, and they're trying to frantically figure it out, but I don't think they're putting the right people in the positions to actually cultivate that at international level, but being able to make it so at the brokerage level, it can be delivered, right? Mm-hmm. They can innovate there, but if it doesn't get done at the brokerage level, it's useless, right? Because they haven't built the tools like we have at EXP, where you can get it on demand. Why not, right? And there is kind of certain things you can get on demand at KW. Most of it's old, or it comes at an additional cost, right? You get it for free at EXP, right? That's the first thing. The second part of it is on the technology side of things. Unfortunately, here in Canada, the majority of the tech from KW didn't actually work north of the border, right? We had websites with Playster that never worked, right? We have a bunch of different other tools that we've been promised. I'll never forget, because like when you go to Reunion there, it's very raw in and around the culture, but it's also exciting because they're unveiling like the future of where the direction of the company is going. Every single thing that they've shown me, from Ojo back in the day to all these other things, they never actually came to fruition. And they've spent millions upon millions of the dollars that they're taking from us on that royalty, and they're essentially giving it away, right? In comparison to EXP, they've always done it right. And I can't remember who said it, but I remember seeing a statement a really long time ago, is that, we're like, they said, we're not a tech company. We've partnered with really great tech companies, right? And one of the very first things that happened, this is kind of mind blowing to me, and something, if somebody's considering it, is that when I made the move to EXP, I'm a big Chime user, which I already mentioned in our interview here. I said, like, hey, I've moved to EXP, and without even asking anything, oh, that's great news, we're going to deduct 20% from your bill. I don't know. 20%. And I have a kind of a higher package there because of the tools and stuff that we use. And I'm already grandfathered onto a deal that nobody else can get today. It's already better. And they're just like, hey, we're just going to knock 20% off your bill. Okay, that's fantastic, right? And that's that partnership with the technology side, right? The other part of it too, and like I'd say, is that EXP in a large part is founded on some of the culture that KW first started with, right? Some of the early people that came over to EXP brought that culture with them. And it's funny because as that culture left the office, you actually felt it, right? Yeah. You felt that culture leave, right? The office, in a lot of ways had become hollow in that, we've lost some of that, right? And so, I'm excited to be here. And because of one of the words that you said when we first led into this little segment, was you said the word partner. And that really resonates with me, because I actually feel like a partner with you in this business. What's crazy is that partnership isn't coming even with a split to you. You're giving it to us all for free. And like, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I'm from a marketing background. I've, paid a lot of money to get into some really important rooms with some like really big thought leaders to the tunes of, 25,000 here, 50,000 there. And I feel like I'm getting some of that same value just being in the room with you. And I'm getting access to you, somebody who is at a world-class level when it comes to this content, social media, YouTube. I honestly feel supported in a way that, I think that I can really push the needle with a business that's already doing really well.
Yeah, it's so powerful, man, and I genuinely appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. It's the exciting part about this is, when you're not out there recruiting, but like we do, we just attract people that want to partner with us. You're genuinely attract the type of person that you are. So when you look at our group, it's a bunch of people like you and I that all align with each other as like good friends and business partners. But I think, you and I have a really cool partnership here. And I'd love for you to touch on what people can expect when aligning with you, because they get both of us. So, I come from this, ability to help people scale on the content side, personal branding and solo agent stuff, and helped a lot of brokerages. But now people have the opportunity to not just become a rock star solo agent, but also scale that team locally with you. So what does it look like when now people partner with the both of us?
I just want to stop and like pause there for a second because I want people to understand like how powerful that actually is.
Yeah.
In behind the scenes, like I realized that I built something really special, and I had kind of mapped out like launching a course, what I'm going to pay for it. Courses like the Quality of Mind, they retail $12,000, things like that. And I looked at you and I'm looking like, man, Mike's giving me like similar value and I'm getting it all for free, right? And not only that, so like I'm gonna kind of try to replicate some of what you've done. I'm gonna do the same model. I'm gonna I want to align with people like myself. And just like one thing I want to make clear, Mike never called me. I didn't hear from somebody on Mike's team. I reached out to Mike, right? And I hope people realize like the mind-blowing nature of that. I got approached by brokerages on the daily. When I had finally considered to move, I interviewed another dozen brokerages. I went to Mike because I saw what you were doing and offering, right? And that's powerful. And what's crazy is, and I think this is the really disruptive part of what EXP is doing, is that in the downline structure, right? And I hate the word downline, like, because people they get cringe, they get worried about like the, what they would call the pyramid. And it's funny because everybody used to say that about KW and their profit share, right? And I'll tell you, that profit share is nowhere near as attractive as this. And again, what was the first thing I said to you when I jumped on the call? I said, I'm coming to you, Mike, but I'm still very much about production. I'm not coming to you because I want to get on the phone. I want to start calling people, but I want to use like the value that I'm able to give people and attract people and help them build businesses similar to mine, right? And so that's where I am. I'm going to launch my own kind of community where I can give value the way that you are, but in a very blueprinted way, in and around building teams, right? And I'll tell you, like knowing and like the resources I've been building around the stuff that you give, I'm excited to share kind of that, right? Is like kind of taking what you're doing and kind of, and like even leveling that up, right? And so I think it's crazy that people aren't like considering EXP. And I just think it's because of, two main things is that there are people who have been attracted to the attraction revenue share model who have gone on, pounded the phones, which is great. Like they're trying to attract people, but they're not doing it in a way where they're trying to say, hey, I want to build a relationship with you. I want to align with you. I want to help you build your business. It's that call where it's like, you just want me as your downline because you see the dollars, right? So there's no alignment there. And the second part is, man, was I told a lot of lies about EXP. Like, oh, you're going to go there. The conveyancing is a mess. You're going to go there. You'll never reach anybody. I've never had direct access like I do to the back end office. And as a team that does a lot of transactions, being able to actually talk to somebody in conveyancing, like never happened before. Now, in our first week, there was like, just getting accustomed to the different systems. Emma jokes with me. She's like, I must have talked to the lady in conveyancing like 83 times. But she's like, she responded every time. I don't know what to think. It's crazy. Like it's helped her become more efficient because she gets answers really quickly, right? Managing brokers, there's several people I can talk to at any time, right? And then you get onto like the education and production side of it. Mike's accessible, right? I can get on a call like on some of these masterminds several times a week and I get value, right? And I'm getting some of the value that I paid 25, 50,000 for to be a part of other rooms. So it's crazy the power of what it is. And the fact that I'm here because I reached out to you.
Yeah, man, I love it so much. And I think, I just have to, brag on Brad a bit here as we pull this full circle is, again, like being able to align with somebody that's done this at the highest level. And I think, one of the concepts that I'm very, passionate about and bullish on is investing into yourself. And like, I've invested $250,000 this year into coaching. You've invested, multiple six figures over the last couple of years into coaching how to scale a team. Like, if people could conceptualize how much value that is for them to be able to plug in, get both of us, and not have to spend that, but get us helping them one-on-one to build the team or build the organization or scale their brand or generate the leads is just astronomical. And the fact that you continue to walk the walk and not just talk the talk, and you're a practitioner at the highest level of what most people struggle with, which is leads to appointments in order to close deals. So again, for anybody that's looking to either skyrocket their production, build a team, build an organization, and do it the right way, that's actually going to make it not just profitable and lucrative, but fun and family-like, there's no better person to partner with than Brad. So Brad, again, man, thank you so much for this opportunity and for being so open with your entire journey. And I truly hope people capitalize on the opportunity to align with you.
Mike, I appreciate you, man. Like, I truly mean that. It's like, it's powerful stuff, and all my team feels it, which again, it's like, I'm the one that brought you to them, and they just, again, they're feeling more loved, and we're excited for the journey that we're on with the Wolf Pack. If you haven't really dug deep into what the Wolf Pack is, you need to. If you're considering a move, I can't say there's another organization built the way that Mike has, and the way he's constantly investing in the resources. And I'm happy to invest the same type of resources, time, money, and effort to help other people grow as well. So thanks for having me, dude. Thanks for giving me an audience, and I really appreciate you.
100%, dude. The feeling is mutual. Again, guys, go check out all of Brad's incredible content. It is linked below, and feel free to book a call with him to chat about partnering with both of us. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.